Good evening and welcome back to another week here at the State of Mind. This is the State of Scottish Football. It's Monday at 6 o'clock, and that means you're locked in with me, Jack Donnelly, and my good friend Cameron Wanstall for the next hour, talking all about the beautiful game up here in Scotland, all the weird and the wonderful that comes with it. We are broadcasting across a plethora of different platforms. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, YouTube, of course. I think we're on LinkedIn as well. I think we're on Twitch now as well. We're just the empire is taking over. A State of Scottish Football is going to be absolutely everywhere, as long as they'll have us. So there are more than enough ways for you to get this content into your eyes and into your ears and absorb it all, listening to us talk about football up here in Scotland. Cameron, how are you doing, mate? It's nice to see you here on Monday as always.
Yeah, not bad. Had an okay weekend. I was working a bit. Was at a good Bonnyrigg Rose game. Also working for Rose, 7-0 win on Saturday afternoon. So yeah, good weekend all round. What about yourself?
Well, it's not been the best weekend. I have had to deal with a bit of self-isolation. I was named as a close contact of a positive case of the big virus, so I was kind of stuck indoors for the last weekend or so. But I took a PCR test and it turned out negative, so it was just a bit of annoyance because I would have gotten out if I'd gotten my vaccine like 3 days earlier, my second dose. But because it hadn't been 2 weeks, I had to spend the weekend indoors. And as a result, I missed the Premier Sports Cup match at Somerset Park. I would have been going to my mates to see us go out on penalties to Dundee United, which we'll get onto a little bit later. Yeah. I'll talk about my opinions on the game. But let us know what you guys, what everyone was up to over the weekend, how much football you got involved with, whether you were at any games. We'd be more than happy to hear what you guys got up to and how you viewed this weekend in Scottish football, of course. And we hope to hear from you a lot throughout the course of the show, as always. We'll start things off, as you and I usually do, Cameron, with a bit of the gossip, a bit of the whispers, the rumour mill, the back pages, whatever you want to call it. We're going to start with Rangers because there's been a bit of a development in the Nikola Katic situation. Now, for those that haven't been following this, Nikola Katic, obviously, he spent the last year on the sidelines injured and wasn't able to compete in the title-winning season at all, which was a real shame for him because he kind of built up a bit of a reputation amongst the Rangers fans. Of course, he scored the winner in Rangers' first Old Firm victory in 10 years in December 2019. He had that going for him and then just was sidelined with a ACL injury, I think I'm right in saying. So, a bit of a shame to see him forced out of the club, really. I mean, his agent's been contacted by the higher-ups at Rangers and basically been told to find him a new club. And I'm not necessarily sure it's the right move, Cam. I don't know what you're thinking about it, but it seems a bit blunt and unlike what Rangers have been doing in recent years to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit harsh. Like, that is football, but it is a business. But it still does seem harsh. Like, he's been out. He was a good player beforehand. I know he made his mark. Didn't he score a winner in the Old Firm, I think I'm right in saying?
Yeah.
So that built up his popularity. I think he is a good centre-back too. Obviously, there has been rumours I'm sure you're probably going to mention about him going to Hearts. I would not complain whatsoever with that. I think he's a good player. It's a shame he's not been given a chance to sort of rebuild his reputation and just rebuild his fitness almost. I think the other centre-backs, they've got good centre-backs, but there is also like Balogun. I don't know what your thoughts are on Balogun, but I mean, he came in, I thought, oh, good signing. But I think he's been really shaky at times. And
he's kind of had both sides of the same coin, hasn't he? I mean, he looked quite good when he first kind of came in, and people were thinking, oh, well, he's had the kind of pre-season with Brighton, so he's kind of up to scratch from the word go. But then he's been off it a lot, and then he really did, because he kind of came in and partner Goldson when Hollander was a bit more questionable last summer, and then obviously Hollander got fully fit, and he came in and kind of made that second centre-back role his own, so kind of really took command of it. So I'm not really sure what the script is there, but a lot of the Rangers fans are saying it's Jack Simpson that they're really surprised at being kept over Katic. I'm not really seeing a lot of love for Jack Simpson. I just typed in Katic just on Twitter just to see what the top results would give me, and there was a tweet saying getting rid of Katic before Simpson is baffling. The boy coming up from Bournemouth, he doesn't really seem to have a massively good reputation with the Rangers fans.
He's not played, has he? Didn't he play like a cup game maybe when he first signed? I might even be wrong by saying that, but I think he maybe played a cup game. And I've not seen him since. I don't know if he played at the tail end of the season when the league was all wrapped up, but I've seen nothing of him. So there you go. You've got Balogun, who's a bit dodgy, and you've got Simpson, who's made no mark whatsoever. And yet you're forcing out a guy who, don't get me wrong, also has struggled with injuries, but definitely deserves a chance. So it's weird to see him getting chucked out. I don't know if it's a wage thing or what, but it's weird. It's weird.
Well, Sean Curran coming in the comments saying it sounds like they are cutting costs. And possibly. I think, could that be an implication of the lack of Champions League football now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously that Champions League money was going to do absolutely massive things for Rangers if they managed to progress through the group stages. And there's been a lot of talk over whether they really need to start selling players now. So do you think it is a case of them just cutting their costs while they can and being able to recuperate a bit of money going into what could potentially be another Europa League season?
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing either. It's a smart thing to do. There's no point having 5 or 6 centre backs. Probably like Katic probably is on a decent wage, and there's nothing wrong with sort of getting rid. Especially on a less demanding season, Europa League isn't quite as important as Champions League. The financial differences are massive, so it's not too important. They're definitely the aim for Rangers this league. It will be the league, maybe a domestic cup. So yeah, I think it probably is cutting costs. Not that it's anything that's not like maybe 10 years ago, but it's definitely still in the back of their minds. Maybe it's just being sensible. But it's just a shame that it's Katic and maybe not one or two of the others.
I don't know if this is just an open and shut story, because he did put up an Instagram picture, Katic, caption. He's celebrating right in front of a clapping and cheering Gerrard, captioned it, "Many more like this to come, #WATP," and a wee winky face. So he clearly seems to think that he's planning for a future at Rangers, which is good to see. It's good to see him wanting to be able to get back in and kick on. I think he played in the Challenge Cup, I think, for Rangers B.
He did, yes.
I think in the 3-2-1, I think he did play. Yeah. So he's getting his fitness back. So I mean, if he is coming back in line for a first team career, then fair play to him. It's all about what the club decide to do with him now. I suppose he's kind of shown that he's keen to stay. So really does fall to the club then, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
We'll stick with Rangers just for this next one. There's been a lot of talk, and we've mentioned it on this show before. Maybe it wasn't us, but it might have been another couple of our esteemed colleagues here at the State of Scottish Football. Joey Veerman, the Heerenveen midfielder over in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands, he's been linked with Rangers for a fair amount of time at this point. He's also been linked with a couple of clubs in England and Hellas Verona, I believe, in Italy. But he's beginning to grow really tired of how Heerenveen are actually treating him, because he feels rather, that they're pricing him out of a move. Now, the club are valuing him at £8.5 million, which is about 10 million euros. And his stance on it is, you're worth what other clubs offer for you. Now, what do you take on this opinion? I mean, is there truth to that, or does it come down to what the club needs more than what the club can accept, if that makes sense?
I don't know. I think it's nice to show a bit of player power, but at the end of the day, the club have an estimate of what they want to sell him for. And if that happens to be 8 million, then it happens to be 8 million. They've got to take into account his contract, what's left on it, his value as a player, his future, what they'd lose with him going. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I think the club sets the fee, and it's up to other clubs like Rangers to cough up if they really want him. We're talking about Rangers' finances. I don't see them coughing out 8 million on a player. I might be totally wrong. I don't know the ins and outs, but I don't think they need to. I think they have plenty of midfielders. Do you know much about him himself? Is he something that they're missing, or? I
honestly don't know too much. I mean, I know him by name, and the fact that he's been with the Rangers. That's kind of my extent of the knowledge on the guy. But I mean, he's 22, so he's got a career ahead of him. Yeah. And I mean, any sort of Dutch talent coming through at a young age and looking to get abroad to Europe, that's typically a good sign. So I mean, probably a fairly encouraging sign that there would be a player in there. So that's kind of my estimation. But I don't know. It is tough to see, especially as you say, with Rangers kind of looking to manage finances a little bit better. They're doing so because there was one thing that I'd seen. There's been a couple of offers that they've received for Yanis Hadji recently. Galatasaray, of course, recently in Scotland, having played St Johnstone in their Europa League qualifier. They've bid apparently £3.4 million for the winger, and he also had bids knocked back from Sevilla and Lazio for about £6 million, so a bit more of a modest sum, but Rangers apparently valuing him closer to £10 million. Do you reckon they would sell if they get the 10 million, or do you think for a player like Hadji they would want to keep him, especially as they look to kind of kickstart their season after this weekend?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I personally, if we're going to take it from my personal standpoint first, I'm obviously not a Rangers fan, but I'd like to see him stay. I like Hadji. At times, sort of people have got on his back, but I think he's a really, really creative footballer. I think he's an excellent player, to be quite honest with you. I'm shocked that he hasn't been more of a permanent fixture in that team. We saw a brilliant assist that he got at the weekend against Dunfermline as well. So I think he's a great player. As for Rangers, I don't know, £10 million. it might be a good fee. What age has had, Jay? So maybe
21, 22.
Oh, he's younger
young.
than I even thought. I thought he was going to be mid-20. I thought he was going to become like 23, 24. So, I don't know. 10 million. I know the Scottish League, it's hard to get big fees for players in the Scottish League, but I'd like to see him go for more. I think he's got plenty more in him. I think I either want to see it here in Scotland, or I'd like to see Rangers get a proper good fee for him to sort of show that Scottish clubs won't be bossed about when it comes to transfer fees.
That is the thing, and I think if there are two clubs that really can stand their ground a bit more, especially than the rest, it would be Celtic and Rangers. So I think you would expect them to command a higher fee than maybe their contemporaries in the league. We'll move on from Rangers. I feel like we've just spent the last 10 minutes talking about one side of Glasgow, and of course it is the state of Scottish football, so we can't focus on one team too much. Move up to Edinburgh, because Jack Ross is seemingly up in his pursuit of a new striker after he was dealt a bit of a bad blow with an Achilles injury to Christian Doidge. Doidge started the season in pretty good form. I think 2 goals in his first 5 games, which is a fairly decent return for the big striker. And I think what's worse, he was actually about to see the fruits of Hibs campaigns on social media come to life, as he was in line for a Wales call-up in the next kind of set of internationals. So it's kind of come at the worst time for the player, but the manager as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame for Doidge, because he has, like you said, he's been coming back from COVID. And I think, like you said, 2 goals, 5 games. So when he's came on, he has looked a bit sharp. He's looked like he was getting about the goals. And I think it was just a case of gradually bringing him back in slowly. And it's just came at the worst time for him and Jack Ross. So yeah, definitely. I do think Hibs may need to get our forward in. They've been playing as a front three quite often with his absence. So like Boyle one side, Jamie Murphy on the other, Nisbet through the middle. Has actually worked quite well, but you definitely need our striker in there. And I wonder who they go for. Obviously, one person will be like Lee Griffiths. That'll be the obvious shout. A little loan deal for Lee Griffiths. But I don't know. I'd like to see him go a bit more adventurous. I'm not sure if there's been any rumoured players. It's been quite sudden. So I don't know if the rumours have started floating about yet. But I'd see Jack Ross wanting to get another striker in, definitely.
I fear for the backlash to the club that would want to take a punt on Lee Griffiths after the summer he's had. I think the more important question is, how important is it now that Ross keeps a hold of Nisbet, because he's kind of had his future up in the air a lot ever since those Birmingham links and those Birmingham offers, Birmingham City, I should say, back in January of this year. So it's going to be absolutely crucial that they manage to keep him fit at the same time.
Yeah, if they were to sell Nisbet, they'd have to get someone in who is extraordinary, a quick turnaround with a new signing, which I don't see happening in this transfer window. So, yeah, they've got to keep Nisbet. If they lose Nisbet, then they can kiss bye-bye to 3rd place, maybe even 4th place, maybe even 5th place. I can see them just tumbling down the table without that man leading their front line, because he's really had a tricky start to the season, but he's starting to get back in the goals now. So, without him, don't get me wrong, Jamie Murphy's looked good, and Martin Boyle's a constant threat, no matter what you think of him. But yeah, they've got to keep Kevin Nisbet. If they don't, I fear for Hibs.
No, absolutely. I mean, you definitely wouldn't want to see it as a Hearts fan, Cam, would you?
Oh, no, I would hate to see it. Oh, us finishing above Hibs this year, that'd be terrible. Oh, my goodness.
You hate to speak it into existence, absolutely. We'll wrap up this little section with a bit of chat on Hearts. Robbie Nielsen coming out with a bit of a claim, saying that Craig Gordon should be reinstated as Scotland's #1 goalkeeper.
I mean,
what do you reckon?
Look at the saves against Celtic. That's hard to say no. When we went into the Euros, I was very much David Marshall in goals, like he's deserved it. Also, didn't quite work out in the end, but I still think he's a good goalkeeper, but I don't think he's played much at Derby, if at all. John McLaughlin's still second choice at Rangers. I know he's been playing a bit, but as the season gets underway, he won't tell McGregor, who's retired. And we spoke about Xander Clark and Liam Kelly, neither of which I don't think are ready for that. To be put in his first choice. So yeah, I honestly do believe Craig Gordon should be first choice. I know he's the wrong side of 30 and just he's had a year in the Championship, but he's came up to the top flight and he's shown multiple times already this season that he can win Hearts games single-handedly. Also, it didn't happen at the weekend, but on another day it might have, because Celtic should have been winning that about 7-0, let's be honest. And they didn't, because Craig Gordon was absolutely outstanding. And we can talk about playing out with our feet and that. I don't care about that international level. I just want a good goalkeeper that will keep out shots, and that's what he gives you.
No, absolutely. I mean, that kind of seems to be what we need at the moment. I mean, it didn't work out for Marshall too much at the Euros, but I mean, he did break a record. He was the goalkeeper that was conceded from the farthest distance at the tournament, which At least they can hold us out for that.
I just wanted to say as well, Daniel Mixon at Marshall got released. So there you go. If that's true,
that's news to me. I didn't actually know that. That's that says a lot. To be fair, I think you just look at the opening day against Celtic and just right towards the end, those two absolutely outstanding saves. And that's the thing we've come to learn about Gordon at Hearts over the last year or so. He's got at least one of those in him a game. He'll just pull off an absolute worldie just to keep his side in it. And he was really Hearts player of the season last year, you would say. I mean, it was
definitely. Wasn't many contenders, but
no, we could have talked about how they kind of sleepwalked towards the championship, just looked very meagre in doing so. But no, he just looked superb, and it's tough, especially because there's no guarantee Marshall is going to be playing regular football in the next kind of couple of months of the season ahead. But Clark does love his consistency, doesn't he? He loves kind of sticking by his boys. He loves his O'Donnells. He loves playing Tierney and Robertson as much as possible, and chucking Dykes up front, even though it might not be the optimum selection. So it's whether he would look to upset the system a little bit to get Craig Gordon back in between the sticks. But I'd certainly kind of get behind it. To be fair, I'm a big fan of Craig Gordon's. I think he's one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best in the league. Probably challenging Alan McGregor for that. But let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about Gordon potentially being back in line for a starting role with the national team, the team we all hate to love and love to hate at the same time. We will start with our League Cup coverage now. Of course, the round of 16 in the Premier Sports Cup began over the weekend. And we'll start with yourself, Cam, with your side Hearts, as they travelled to Parkhead after a fairly comfortable group. You would say there wasn't really any problems whatsoever with their group stage campaign, but it didn't really go to plan on the weekend there. Celtic coming away with a 3-2 victory. Of course, regulars to the State of Mind Network will know that this game was extensively covered by the team over at a Celtic State of Mind, so we won't be able to provide the absolute Celtic coverage, but we can at least provide the neutral and the Hearts angle, which is always good. What do you reckon, mate? I mean, it was a pretty one-sided affair from the boys on a Saturday or Sunday, whenever it was. I can't remember.
It was bad. It was very bad. I'm glad I didn't watch it live because, oh my goodness. I think our biggest problem is Josh Ginnelly apparently having a bug, according to Robbie Nielsen, and saying you couldn't play him for a full match or start him anyway. So that's why he came on late and pretty much did change the game a little bit, really. When he came on, his introduction did change the game. It was just bad for it off. Like, honestly, Celtic, even if you never saw the game live or didn't watch it later, like myself, like, if you just watch the highlights, it's brutal. It is constant shot after shot after shot. Celtic. I'm sitting watching the highlights today just to sort of remember it, and I'm sitting there going, is this still the first half? Like, this is another shot that Craig Gordon's have to palm away, or another one that's just whizzed over the bar. It was just an absolute demolition, and I'm not even going to have a go at Celtic's finishing, because they've finished well the last few games, of course, being Dundee with 6 and hitting other teams in Europe for 4 and 3. So, but just somehow they didn't go ahead. Craig Gordon, thankfully, maybe just a little bit of luck. We really rolled our luck to keep it respectable, thanks to Craig Gordon, and thankfully got into it with a lucky penalty that we got. Not lucky in the terms of it was a penalty, but just lucky that it was the one time we got the ball
fell for you,
and we somehow got a penalty from it, and Leon Boyce managed to put it in the back of the net. So. No, not a lot to say about Hearts, to be quite honest with you. Just poor. Nielsen said it was a lack of aggressive pressing, mixed with maybe a little bit of fault in his tactics, which it's good that he's finally taking a bit of responsibility for. But yeah, the back line dragged all over the place. Celtic's attack was just so fantastic, just so fluid. So you didn't know where the ball was going next. I heard that on Sports Sound as well. It was like Hearts couldn't defend against a certain player because you didn't know it was going to that player. Like, it could go to the other side of the pitch and you were just in trouble. There was no clear attacking plan from Celtic. It was just a complete bamboozling of our back line, and we couldn't handle it. So yeah, we were lucky to walk away with a 3-2 defeat.
I mean, we're getting some comments coming in just now. Sean Curran saying Celtic were completely relentless for the first half and then part of the second. I do agree with that. Hearts probably did probe a little bit more than they did. Or, I mean, you can probe as much as you want, especially when it's always going to be an improvement when you do absolutely nothing in the first half. So even for those minimal chances, I mean, they looked better second half anyway. But rounding out the game, stats don't tell a full story, of course. So we need to appreciate that about football. You can't base everything on stats. But 72% possession and 36 shots on goal from Celtic compared to, I think it was 5 in total from Hearts. Of course, they get two on target, and those were the 2 that they put in. So can't really complain about that front. But
it's football manager stuff. It's like me playing a pre-season friendly with Liverpool against an amateur team. Like,
some lower league jobbers, absolutely.
I know it's tough to go to Parkhead, but it is quite frankly embarrassing. I know they're in form as well. Like, every player for Celtic, I thought had a pretty good game. Starfelt was a bit shaky at the back, obviously, but I thought Welsh also got the goal. He was outstanding, and their whole front line was brilliant. To be fair to them, honestly, no shame in admitting it. Furuhashi getting another goal. Maybe actually we're talking about Craig Gordon. Maybe he could have done a little bit better with that, but let him off after 30 odd shots towards them. But yeah, Celtic were just so good. It's less about Hearts being hopeless. Celtic were really good as well.
I mean, that was the thing, because Robin Nielsen said, I think, coming into this game, he wants to be able to go across to Glasgow and compete. He wants to be able to go and fight. And that sentiment was completely undone in that first half, where he really just, the side just looked absolutely lacklustre. I mean, he did come out after the game and say that he was happy with the second half and that he could take the positives away. Were there any positives to take away? I mean, is he saying that just for the press line, or I mean, were there positives to take away from it from a Hearts perspective?
I mean, 2 shots on target, 2 goals. Josh Ginnelly coming on, done well. Craig Gordon still. That's literally it. I'm repeating myself. There was no other real positives, I don't think. I don't know. No, there wasn't. No. I don't know what positives he's taken. I think Celtic just blew us away. It's as simple as that. And also, he can't come out and just say that, so I understand why he's saying what he said. But yeah, as a fan, it's hard to take that one, to be honest.
No, I do agree. I thought Ginnelly kind of turned the tide a little bit more when he came off the bench. I was hearing a lot from kind of Hearts fans that Benny Banijime had another good game in the middle of the park. So he done all right considering the circumstances. But the man of the moment, just in Scotland, to be honest, Kyogo Furuhashi getting his 5th goal in 5 games and just looked consistently threatening. Like he doesn't have an off switch, this guy. And I mean, how must he be feeling just now? I mean, he's settled into life so quickly in Glasgow. The fans are all right behind him. They're loving everything that he's doing just now. He really can seemingly do no wrong just now.
No, definitely no. So I really like the guy. I think he's absolutely fantastic. We mentioned it last week on the show. It's not just his finishing or his passing. It's his movement.
It's movement, absolutely.
He's got the pace. It's his movement. It's unbelievable. Even for his goal, it's great movement to get him behind that back line and get the shot away on his left foot and just sneak it past Craig Gordon at the front post. He's just had such a good start. He's been outstanding in every phase of his play, and other Premiership teams should be really afraid of him every single week. It's brilliant as well that we've seen a player just settle so quickly. I hate this idea of players having to take 2 or 3 months to settle. It does happen, but it's so frustrating to watch. This guy's just came in and set the world alight immediately, and in such a high pressure environment. So no, it's fantastic to see. It's also a shame when it happens against my team, but it's brilliant to see as a neutral.
Now, there's a comment coming in there from Ian McIntosh saying Kyogo has woken Eddie up. Of course, odds and Edouard. There's been a lot of speculation about him, whether he'll even be in Glasgow come the end of this month. But I've got to completely agree with what Ian's saying. I think because Furuhashi's come in and he's been absolutely electric, and he's really kind of picked up the club, really, and kind of put them on his shoulders. He kind of lifted absolutely everyone. And I think Edouard has been really, really good. Like since he's been playing alongside Furuhashi. I mean, in Europe and then in this game, I thought he had a really, really good game. Probably his best of the season, at least in my opinion, anyway. But could this potentially sway him to stick around if he does stick around? He could potentially see a decent partnership with Furuhashi. I'm not sure how much Edouard will be kind of reading into it, or whether he's just a bit happier to be playing with someone who's got some attacking output into them after all.
Yeah, definitely. I think it has woken up a little bit. It's funny because also, like I said, I was at work and didn't watch the game till later. And when we saw the scores coming in, me and a friend of mine were just sitting there like, it's like Edouard only turns up against Hearts. That's what we thought at the time. Like, since he plays Hearts, he could be in the worst form of his life. He will come up with a winner or something. But I think that does make more sense. I think it is more just he's in a team that is finally rewarding his quality and it's finally up to his level. And it'd be really exciting if he stays. I think it definitely makes it more of a title challenge at the top if he stays. If he did go, I think Furuhashi could maybe lead that line effectively, maybe someone else in front of him. But I would like to see him stay. And I think it's a brilliant opportunity for Celtic and Postecoglou to get these two guys together in the same team, get a good playmaking unit around them, and just see the goals flying.
I mean, Ryan Christie back to his best. That could really be the playmaking unit that they're looking for.
He was missing that game, and look how well they still played. Still made so many chances without him.
So you mentioned a title challenge there, and there was a comment coming in from Ian McIntosh again a bit earlier, maybe 5 minutes ago or so, saying Celtic absolutely dominated the first half. Imagine we could do that for 90 minutes. Now, we had a couple of conversations in our group chat, me, you, and the boys, and we were talking about Celtic. If they keep this up and they do get some more defensive signings in, which Postecoglou said they're looking for, they're still working to get some bodies in at the back, could we see a serious shout for Celtic getting this league title? If we can, what's that down to? And if we don't see them winning the league, why not?
I don't know if I see them winning the league, but I definitely see them challenging. This isn't the same Celtic team from last year that was just an utter disgrace. I think Postecoglou's came in and actually built a proper team here. This isn't a Neil Lennon side, this is a Ange Postecoglou side. I think he's written off a few of his doubters already. There will still be doubt remaining. It's only been a few weeks, but he's built a good team here. And it's a case of getting some new centre-backs. Starfelt still hasn't quite settled in yet, unlike Furuhashi. You've still got young lads playing like Welsh. Ralston's still at right back. I don't know if they're going to get someone else in, but for now, Foy had another good game against Hearts, played a few nice passes forward as well, one that maybe led to a goal or another great chance. Don't know about left back either. If they just get some improvements in, they won't concede 2 silly goals like they did yesterday, and they'd be beating teams like Hearts 3-4-5-0, no problem. I definitely see them challenging. I could have said that a week or two ago, to be honest. I'm not going to say they're going to win the league, but see them challenging.
Still early days. Still early days.
What about yourself? What do you think?
That's the thing. It just does seem to be. I mean, it was an absolute bin fire last season. I think absolutely everyone can agree on that. But it just does seem to have been. Ange's come in. He's been a breath of fresh air. Kind of his approach, and he knows what it's going to mean to get results at this club, and he knows what the fans and the board and everyone associated is looking for. And when you've got these players that have really, really picked up, Furuhashi aside, Edouard's picked up his game, as we mentioned. Christie's looking a lot more like the player that we know he can be. Even people like Tom Rogic coming back in and playing really well. And Ralston's kind of been the surprise of the season for us. I mean, no one really expected him to be a main goal threat for Celtic, but he has been 2-2 in the league. So I think that it's definitely going to be a much more closely run battle. I don't know if these shouts are perhaps exacerbated by a bit of a sloppy start to the Rangers league campaign and their kind of recent form, so that could kind of play a bit more of a factor into it. But I think if they do get a couple more defenders in, then I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be pushing right up against Rangers once again.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
So we'll head over to Rangers just now, because it wasn't just Celtic that recorded a decent win. Rangers were the first game of this League Cup weekend, kicking us off on the Friday night, and it was an absolute blitzing from them at home. Around 41,500 packed into Ibrox to watch Rangers win 5-0 over Championship side Dunfermline. Goals from Lundstrom, Wright, Hadji, and 2 from Kemar Roof sealed a fantastic win for Steven Gerrard's men, and exactly one that they needed off the back of that run of 3 losses in a row, Cam.
Yeah, definitely. It's maybe, let's not build up a 5-0, because Dunfermline were so poor. They were so poor. Like Peter Grant said before the game, like, if my lads turn up and have a good game, like that plan went out the window after 2 minutes. Like Doran's just forgetting he wasn't a blue top, gifting it forward for Bassey, and then the floodgates just opened from there. End of the day, though, 5-0, no matter what, even if it's against a team that didn't show up, it's still a morale boosting win. Also good for the players that were in on the action. Obviously, Hadji, we talked about already. A goal and assist for him, I believe. Bassey, fantastic, 2 assists. Kemar Roof back in the goals. It was a really good game for even like an individual standpoint. I think that's something McAllister said after as well. These lads get in, even like minutes for Stephen Kelly too. So, a really good result for Rangers. Morale boosting, like I said.
We've actually got a comment in from former Energy Sport contributor and Dunfermline correspondent Jake Gray saying you can skip this bit. I don't think we can. I think there's probably a bit more to unpack from this one. So feel free to put us on mute, Jake, and we'll let you know whenever we stop talking about this. But Cam, there's been a lot of questions surrounding Peter Grant at Dunfermline. I mean, when he came in, it was a bit of a contentious appointment after it came in from Alloa. Of course, Alloa going down to League One after a fairly torrid time in the Championship last season. And it was a fairly decent group campaign. Again, we saw them kind of dismantle Partick Thistle, which I don't think anyone expected. But then I suppose on the back of it, no one expected the reverse in the league when Partick went and beat them 3-0.
Yeah.
So can we look too much into this in terms of Dunfermline's season so far? I mean, was there really any doubt that you would see a Dunfermline side go away to Rangers when they're in a slump and need a result and pick up anything apart from a loss?
I don't know. I think it's not too big a worry. I think you go to Ibrox, 41,000 fans, Rangers really needing a win. They're going to come out of the floodgates quick, and they did. I don't think it should lessen his job security at all. I think they've got a game coming up. I believe they've got the Fife Derby next. I think it might be on a Friday night, maybe on the telly. I think if they lose that, that's when they're going to be on his neck already. I think he could be in trouble if they lose that, if it's an embarrassing defeat, which it could be. It was last season at one point, I believe. I wouldn't take too much from this, though. It's Rangers. It's the champions. It's the Invincibles. It's not the end of the world to lose 5-0 today when you're in the division below in a League Cup round 16 game. So, no, I wouldn't worry. I don't think Peter Grant will be worrying about this or taking it apart too quickly.
But I mean, I think he did come out and say that he's kind of hoping that the players are upset. He's hoping that they're suffering off the back of this because they really need to see it change quickly. And I do agree with him because it's been a fairly sloppy start for his Pars after many, me included, were tipping them to end up as champions and go straight up to the top flight at the end of this season. So do you think, if anything, this match could serve as a way to kind of light a fire underneath them and properly see them kick on and improve their form in the championship going forward?
Yeah, definitely, especially for the players. Like I'm saying that it's not the end of the world losing to Rangers here in this game, but individually these players should be annoyed at their own performances because they were all sloppy. I don't think a single player had a good game. They were all very poor, and it should be a wake-up call for every single one of them. Hopefully that is the case, because I'm a bit like you. I tipped them. I think I wanted them to finish second this season. I thought they'd made some good additions in attack. Graham Dorrance coming in was clever, and despite losing their player of the season last year, Ewan Murray to Killie, they still look okay at the back. So yeah, hopefully it's a wake-up call for them, and they can go back, focus on the league, and sort of turn around their fortunes.
Now back over to Rangers for a minute. We saw two really important performances, really impressive performances from young fullbacks Calvin Bassey and Nathan Patterson coming into the place. A fairly stuttering Borna Barisic and James Tavernier. You could probably say they've not exactly hit the heights that they're used to at the start of this season. Can we see Gerrard potentially using them a bit more than he's been, because he's really relied on and stood by Barisic and Tavernier more or less his entire last year or so. Obviously Patterson came in a bit for that run towards the end of the season, but obviously then had service suspension. I mean, it was there was a lot of a question about Bassey's end product, and then he got two really nice assists in this match, and Patterson's always been kind of a question over whether he would get the right amount of game time, especially considering a lot of people are wanting to see him more involved in a Scotland setup. So I don't know, could we see Gerrard be affording them a bit more time, because based on the kind of start to the season, they probably do deserve a chance.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how much it will happen in the league. I think if Tavernier and Barisic find the kind of form that they can even get close to from last year, they will start league games. But there's no shame in giving them games in pretty much every cup game and every European game should they qualify. So they're still massive games. Like Rangers really want a domestic cup and they want to do well in Europe. There's no shame in playing them in those games and give them experience, give them a bit of responsibility for these massive club games. But it would be nice to see them in the league more as well. Also, there's 38 games, a lot of games to be played, and there's no harm in missing one or two games to a lesser team. So I think we, like me and you, the listeners, we all want to see them play a bit more, especially Patterson, for Scotland's sake, as you keep saying. But they're two very exciting players that clearly, despite some criticism somehow for each of them, clearly do have a lot of talent, and it'd be brilliant to see them play more.
No, they absolutely do. And I feel like the next kind of week or so, it could be a pretty decent opportunity, because Rangers, they've got their two legs against Armenian side Alashkert in their final Europa League qualifier. Then they've also got a trip to Dingwall away to Ross County. Now, it's never really... It's a classic, never an easy place to go venue, Dingwall, heading over to Ross County. But we've already established Ross County are bad. They are not a good team. So it's... And they're predicted to finish bottom of the league by many, many people. So almost a perfect opportunity for them to get some league minutes under the belt ahead of what would be an absolutely massive game at the end of August. Of course, the first Old Firm of the season, which you would expect Gerrard would revert back to Barisic and Tavernier for.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see any reason why those two youngsters can't play at least 2 of those 3 games you've mentioned. Obviously, I'll put the old guard in for the Old Firm, but maybe play Tav and Barisic for the first leg against Alishkert. Maybe chuck in at least one of the youngsters for County, and then both of them, if they get a convincing win against Alishkert in the first leg, chuck them in for the second. There's no reason why they can't be getting minutes, even if it's off the bench. It would just be so good to see more of them. We definitely didn't see enough of them last season. And it seemingly almost cost Patterson a place in the Euros team. And Bassett can go into bigger and better things as well. I think he's a really down-to-earth guy. I don't know if you saw his interview after the game, but first thing he done was thank the manager, thank the coaches, thank God for getting him into the squad. So I'll really like the look of both of them. I really hope they play more. And I agree. I think it's a great opportunity to see them over the next few weeks.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's just really exciting. You always like to see these young players coming through and doing well, put themselves into the spotlight a bit more, especially if it is from a domestic standpoint, there's a chance of a Scotland call-up in the future. So hopefully we see a bit more of them because they clearly are very talented. Now, we'll move away from Glasgow and we'll move to the 2 teams who are in your banner just there. You've got Aberdeen and Raith Rovers, who picked up a bit of a short result at Starks Park over the weekend, running out 2-1 winners, with Dario Zanata scoring the winning goal to send Raith to the League Cup quarter-finals. I just got one question for Dario Zanata. Where were you? Where were you where were you last season for Ayr United? That's all I want to know.
Where was he for Hearts? He's at Hearts as well.
All over the place, I know.
I don't know if I've said it on this podcast. I don't want to be unprofessional, but Dario Zanata is probably the player I've picked on the most ever in any podcast. And because you were their fan, you've understood and kind of went, yeah, I know what you mean.
I can relate, mate, absolutely.
This season, he's been outstanding so far. And he won the game against Aberdeen.
That absolute screamer against Hamilton the opening day. He's never done that in his life, honestly. I mean, I just remember I was at Partick Thistle away, and I just remember him tearing Ayr to absolute shreds. This was back in 2019, I think, this time 2 years ago. And he just tore us to absolute shreds. We did win the game 3-2, but I just remember thinking, this guy's an absolute problem. Signs for Ayr. I'm like, okay, I know the kind of player he can be. Just spent the time riding the bench, but whatever, there we go. It was a heavily rotated Aberdeen side, to be fair, 7 changes, and it was something that Stephen Glass actually defended post-match. There was a lot of change coming after the Breidablik game midweek that saw Aberdeen just need to get through the last round of qualifiers to get group stage European football. And I think, will that have been in the forefront of his mind? I mean, Aberdeen, they're playing again this week. They're playing away to Karabag in Azerbaijan, which isn't going to be an easy game for them. I'll say that right now. I mean, we might not know too much about Karabag in terms of a Scottish standpoint, but they've got European experience. They're used to kind of playing Europa, Champions League games. They've been in it. So they can absolutely compete at the level, and it's going to be a tough trip for them over there. So do you think making those changes, Glass was almost had 1.5 eyes, you would say, on that European tie, or do you think it's more just getting some fresh legs out on the pitch?
I honestly think I would have done the same in his shoes. Like, this is a massive game. This is to get group stage football for European competition. It's absolutely massive. And well, you've seen what happened. They finished the game with 9 men. Johnny Hayes and Ryan Hedges. Ryan Hedges especially, a brutal blow for the Dons.
Yeah, that's big.
And that's 2 players. That's why he's done this rotation, because he's probably fevering this. He's wanting to keep his players fit, and in a last-ditch attempt to get something out of this game, 2 more of them have gotten injured. So I totally understand. Like, I don't think it's ever right for a Prem team to get beat off a Championship team, but it's understandable why he's done it. Made such heavy rotation, and it's not paid off. It's one of those things. It's unfortunate because they did have a good chance for this cup, this League Cup, but good on Raith. I think it's more about Raith because they were the better team throughout.
Absolutely, mate. That's Raith's first win in the last 5. Obviously, they threw away a 4-goal lead, which you never really think you'll ever say. In their opening game at Starks Park against Hamilton, then went and lost 1-0 away at Inverness Cally Thistle, who have tipped for a fairly high finish in the Championship this season. But that's a massive statement, especially ahead of such a big game in the Fife Derby this Friday. I know you're a big fan of John McGlynn. Did you hear what you had to say after the game?
I only sort of skimmed through it. I was busy at the time. I had it on in the background, so I feel like I might have missed something because I don't remember too much about it.
He just went, it was a brilliant cup win, and I'm delighted the fans were here to see it. We put a bit of pressure on Aberdeen. I'm delighted for the guys today. We showed composure. I'll possibly crack a bottle of champagne. So he's loving it. He's absolutely loving life.
I love John McGlynn. I love it a bit. So I think he's one of the football's just best guys. I'm very glad he's having some champagne the other night. I hope he's still going, to be honest.
Hope he's still going. Just carried on into Monday. Absolutely, John. No reason not to. Fantastic. But no, just heading back over to Aberdeen. I mean, Stephen Glass was really not happy to be kicked out at this stage. But I don't know. I think it could potentially be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because should they get through against Karabag, and I really hope they do, of course, for the coefficient reasons, Coefficient FC, we are proud supporters. I think it's probably going to be better for them just to have one less competition to worry about. And they may have had a good chance, and I think they probably would have had a good chance. Tough game had they made it through. I mean, Raith get drawn away to Celtic Park. We'll cover the draw a little bit later on, but I don't know. Do you think they'll be able to rest a bit easy, knowing that there's one less competition to focus on, and that could be replaced by group stage football? Or do you think Glass is right in saying that he's annoyed that he's missed out on a?
It's a gamble. Here? It's a big gamble. He's took a gamble on League Cup quarterfinals or a potential place in European group stages in the new Conference League. And like I said, I would have done the same thing. It's a big gamble. If it doesn't pay off, he does look stupid. It does make him look quite bad. But he's had such a good start that I think the fans will forgive him. As long as he keep going in the league, then all's well, almost. I think they would like to see him do well against Karabag. Like you said, a tough team, but a team they can definitely take something from. And I think it was more just the manner of the defeat that he'll probably be angry at. It was 2 quite sloppy goals, wasn't it? The free kick whipped in, knocked in, and then their goal just, I think it was Jack Gurr, the fullback.
Jack Gurr,
sloppy on the ball, doesn't know Daryl Zanata's ready to pounce, and it's such a silly goal to give away late in the game. So probably more the manner of defeat that annoys him more than the rotation or the players themselves or actually going out to competition.
I'm with Jack Gurr, to be honest. I would never be ready if Daryl Zanata was ready to pounce on a loose ball. I mean, why would you be?
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. To get Aberdeen will probably be quite happy. They've got that 100% record in the league just now. Wins over Dundee United and Livingston. Got Hearts coming up this weekend. It is a bit of a concern, though, that they did lose 2 big players in this match. I mean, he rotated heavily to avoid anything happening to the likes of Ferguson or Brown or Ramirez up front, but losing Johnny Hayes and more importantly Ryan Hedges is a massive blow. Hedges leaving on crutches, I think, at the end. So kind of worrying ahead of something that could have potentially been avoided altogether. Yeah,
I know it's a massive worry. I think it's not good for the Karabag game so close, losing these players. I think Ryan Hedges, like you say, he's such a good player. Again, another player that I think all of us really like over at State Scottish Football. So big loss. Johnny Hayes as well, that sort of experience. There's no other way to put it. It's a huge loss ahead of one of the most important games of probably the recent memory for Aberdeen fans. And you've just got to hope that Stephen Glass can now perform a tactical masterclass off the back of this embarrassment and keep them in the European competition and hopefully keep their form going as well in the league.
No, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Where should we head next, Cameron? You can pick the game we talk about of the ones we've not mentioned so far.
My next notes is Arbroath St Johnstone. That's the score that I've got written down after that one. So
we can absolutely head up to Gayfield. Why don't we?
Let's do it.
The wind, the rain, and all 4 seasons in one day. That's what you get away at Gayfield. It's you need to go and do it at least once if you've not already. It's a good day out. I was surprised at this one, to be honest. I mean, there was a bit of rotation from St Johnstone. We saw the front line change. Chris Kane dropped out, and Sean Rooney came back in. Rather than right wing back, he went to right centre back. So there was a little bit of change, and of course, Xander Clark dropped to the bench, came on for the penalties. But it was still impressive because we need to remember Arbroath are a part-time team. They're the only part-time team left in the top 2 divisions in Scotland. Yeah. And they went ahead against a Premiership side twice with a really solid defence and a midfield maestro in Ali McCann, who's shown he's absolutely on top of his game. And we saw that in both Galatasaray games. So coming off the back of that defeat to Galatasaray, were you expecting a proper bounce back, or did you expect that Arbroath could have given St Johnstone a game at the weekend?
I honestly didn't know what to expect from this game. If it was at McDiarmid Park, I probably would have said, just not a walkover, but a confident performance from St Johnstone. But because it's at Gayfield, no team that goes to Gayfield can just walk away with a win. We've seen it with the teams that have dropped down to the lower tiers like Hearts. You can't just go to Gayfield and walk away with a massive win. It's really difficult. And a valiant effort from them against the cup holders. Imagine part-timers knocking out the competition holders. That would have been absolutely ridiculous. And they took them all the way. They even had to bring on St Johnstone. Sorry if I'm taking a question off you, but they they brought on Xander Clark in the last minute just to give them more of a chance. Like, that's just incredible stuff. And it's a shame. I think it was Bobby Lynn that maybe missed the last penalty, which is missed the penalty before Alan McCann won it for St Johnstone. That's a shame because he's one of their more exciting players, and I think he is a bin man in his normal life.
Is that bin man?
They were doing stuff last year for Arbroath. I remember they'd done like a whole segment on him on BBC Alba or BBC Scotland, and I just think it's such a shame that like a lad that's just playing part time, like while working full time, almost downed the cup holders, and it's one of those things. It was so close. And they can be so proud of their efforts.
Tell you what, one man that looks a proper nuisance for them, the new boy up front, Joel Newble, I think that's his first name. Obviously scored an absolute peach against Ayr United in the 2-2 draw, and scored again. And a bit of easier circumstances, kind of open goal from just about a metre out, and just could tap it in. So goal's a goal, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I think the one thing that you and I have spoken about before, whether it was on a State of Scottish Football or whether it was on an Energy Sport podcast, Dick Campbell knows how to build a decent unit in terms of a team, and a team that will absolutely work for each other and just blast their way through teams and absorb pressure, get them on the counter. And there's got a lot of kind of decent players going forward to do so. I mean, you're absolutely right, Bobby Lynn. He's definitely one of them. Whether he's kind of in and out the team a bit more from what I've seen, he kind of chops and changes, but absolutely. I mean, they can't really be disappointed with this result going back into the championship season, can they? No,
at the end of the day, I think you've got to take penalties out of it. They've drawn 2-2 with the cup holders in a top. Where did they finish last season? St Johnstone 5th? Did they finish? Or did they finish? Yeah,
they finished 5th.
5th. And this is a part-time team that, quite frankly, every season are lucky to be in the championship. But overall, it's not luck. It's because of their outstanding performances like every single season. So, no, they've drawn 2-2 with a fantastic team. And penalties are a lottery, end of the day. So
absolutely,
it's a great performance from them. They're unlucky to concede, what was it, a penalty rebound and then from a corner. It's one of those things. 2 probably quite cheap goals to give away. And they can't be too disappointed by that at all.
Now, Callum Davidson did come out at the end of the game and said he really could have done without extra time, absolutely, considering that there's another massive game for St Johnstone this week coming up. They've got their Conference League qualifying match against LASK. I think they're playing away first leg. Am I right? Are they?
I'm not sure.
I'll double check that. They're playing away. They're playing away first leg over in Austria. So they've kind of got a bit of European experience behind them as well, LASK. So that's not going to be any sort of walkover for them. They're really going to have to dig deep again, like they did against Galatasaray over both legs. But that's what I feel has really encapsulated this St Johnstone side over the past year and made them not only so successful, but so well respected and liked by so many in Scottish football. It's their tenacity, it's their resilience to grind out a result. They had to do it here. They had to do it at the weekend away at Gayfield. It's going to be different circumstances, of course, away in Europe, but something that really has kind of personified Cam Davidson's team, wouldn't you say? I mean, just that able to work for each other, that resilience and that strength and drive that they've got between them.
Yeah, like I can't recall too many great St Johnstone goals, for instance. I don't think they play bad football at all. I just don't think they have many goal scorers. And it's the sort of thing, they score these goals, like this penalty rebound, they score from corners a lot, they work hard at set pieces. And that's the goals that have won them 2 cup competitions. They've scored from free kicks and corners. Sean Rooney, the big guy, coming in. And that's what I like about them. Yeah, definitely. So the determination. They're not one of the best teams in Scotland, but they play like it. And I honestly believe if they just had a goal-scoring striker, Chris Cade, Stephen May, neither just seem to be clicking and getting the goals in for them a lot. And if either of them turned it on or a new guy came in, then they could be a totally different side and a much more impressive team as well. But regardless, they still won 2 cup trophies without it, so I don't think they'll be too bothered, the St Johnstone fans. Let's just hope they do well against a good team in Last Lunds that had a good Europa League campaign. I think it was last season. So,
no, absolutely. We'll move on. Another game we need to talk about. We'll get to the draw just in the next 5 minutes or so, but still a few more games to wrap up. Hibs 2, Kilmarnock 0 at Easter Road. Our good friend and State of Scottish Football colleague Sean McGill was there for his first experience as a fan since February 2020, and he was thoroughly let down by Kilmarnock. Kyle McGuinness, by the way. He is in an absolute patch of form just now. I don't know about you. I don't remember him a lot from last season. I never really remember his name popping up amongst the scorers, but he's really started the season very well, kind of in the midfield and kind of going forward for Hibs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like they've given him a more advanced role, and it's working.
Mm-hmm.
He was impressive against Raith when I was there at Easter Road, and I think it's 4 goals in 5 games. If I might be wrong,
Along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. Something just as impressive. So, a really top midfielder. Listen, as long as they can let him just go in that sort of free roam role and just keep like sort of moving about the front line, then he's going to keep getting goals and even assists as well. So. It seems like a fantastic addition to the team for Hibs, and it's like a completely new midfield with him in it.
No, it's him and of course Jake Doyle-Hayes as well, who's kind of sitting deeper, controlling the tempo, controlling things with Joe Newell alongside him. So McGuinness has definitely been afforded that extra bit of freedom going forward there. Yeah. I mean, from what I understand from this game, it was a fairly professional performance for Hibs. They probably did see more of the ball, which I'd imagine a lot of people will have expected from a Premiership side going up against the Championship side in Kilmarnock. But Kelly had the better of the chances first half. I mean, there were a couple of really good opportunities. There was one that struck the underside of the bar from about 25 yards. Liam Polworth, of course, one of my new mortal enemies after his goal in the derby. But Kelly definitely could have had a different result on a day where they could have taken their chances. So not really... And the result's bad, but performance they might end up being quite happy about, Cam.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think Tommy Wright was too upset by it, if I remember his interviews rightly. I think they'll be upset. I think their captain, Stokes, went off injured, so that's a massive blow going forward. But on the game itself, they looked okay. A 2-0 result was maybe fair, maybe 2-1 would have been in favour. It's one of those things. I don't think they expected to go to Easter Road and get an easy win here. They knew it would be a tough game, probably would be a narrow loss, and that's what they've got. It's not too disheartening. It's probably it's more good for Hibs than it is bad for Kilmarnock. Jack, you're on mute, friend. You're on mute.
I'm on mute. Thank you very much for reminding me. Just take a drink of my water and just completely forgot to turn my voice back on. Can we talk about Ayr? Can I get angry for a second?
Absolutely.
So Ayr were knocked out by Dundee United at Somerset Park on Saturday afternoon. This was actually the only bit of Scottish football I saw live over the weekend, as it might sound odd, but the game wasn't on TV anywhere and it wasn't being streamed due to a bit of issue with the SPFL and what's allowed to be broadcast over their own club channels. I had to wait for my friend to FaceTime me at penalties. And I was sat on my friend's phone in my bed screaming abuse through a phone, everything that was going on. So I had to just see Ayr get knocked out. It was rubbish, and I don't think it should have happened. I think we should have seen the game out, and we should have ended up going through because I wanted a good away day. By all accounts, and from everything that I was reading and from everything that my friends were telling me, we were the better side in 90 minutes. I think.
Well, he's not robbed by the penalty as well, I believe.
It was. I don't understand how that's a penalty, to be honest.
I've not seen it back myself, but you can tell me, was it quite a bad one?
I definitely was one that raised a lot of questions over the referee, and it's definitely not one that I agreed with. But of course, I would say that regardless. So you can take my opinion with a pinch of salt if you want to. It was an odd one. It's a little bit concerning that it's the third penalty in our last 3 games that we've given away. Of course, one at the Ayrshire Derby, one against Arbroath, which luckily was missed by Nicky Lowe, and then this one, which Nicky Clark converted. But it was a sending off as well. That just completely turned the tide, because that just allowed Ayr to really, or Dundee United, to really get a foothold in the game, because up until that point we'd been really kind of threatening. Tommy Adeloye kind of walked the ball into the net for another goal for him. He's kind of turned up quite good for us at the start of the season. I'm excited to see how he kicks on going into the rest of it. But Maxwell hit the post. I think Paddy Redden hit the bar. There were a lot of good chances for us to go ahead, and apparently it was really turning towards that. And then penalty just changes things completely. And I think the penalties themselves. I
think as well. Just going by the report that I read, it seemed like Benji Segrist just
played a stormer.
2 world-class saves. Hopkins saved 2 in the shootout too. So,
two saves in the shootout from Reading, and Jonathan Afolabi obviously coming in on loan from Celtic.
Yeah,
it was also weird that full time I get the camera turned round and see them throw a flare on the pitch and have a pitch invasion.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I didn't see it as that big an occasion, to be honest. We would have been buzzing with a win against Premiership opposition, but odd. I suppose Dundee United don't really have a good record at Somerset Park, so
Still odd, yeah. Like we let off Aberdeen last week, but I don't know if we can let that off. That's a bit, a bit too far.
I mean, does Tin Pot come into it? I thought, that's too.
It might.
We've also got Dundee FC beating Motherwell 1-0. I kind of missed this game. This kind of game flew under the radar a little bit for me.
That's the most forgettable game out of the bunch, wasn't it? And
Ashcroft scoring late on. Yeah.
yeah. All I heard about it, again, it's not a game that I saw, but I heard Jordan McGee was man of the match. And apparently Christy Elliott had a good game at fullback as well. So Dundee defenders playing well. Maybe a bit of a shock, but seemed like they did this week.
Quite possibly. Sean Joseph Maxwell saying that it was him that hit the bar. If I'd seen you on the Somerset Pitch Park on Saturday, Sean, I would have been very, very impressed, to be fair. And finally, a bit of redemption in the Livingston game from Max Stroyek. Obviously dropped that absolute clanger in the loss to Aberdeen last week, but turned up big in penalties to win the game for the Lions against St Mirren. I kind of fancied them for a little bit of a run, to be honest, but didn't really go that way for them. Of course, I'm always happy to see a former honest man scoring. Forrest getting the first goal of that game, and it was McCarthy that levelled things for St Mirren late on. But don't know, did you expect Livingston to get a result out of this one, or were you back in St Mirren?
No, I was back in St Mirren. I thought, obviously it ended a draw, but I still thought St Mirren, like yourself, maybe had a little bit of a run in them. I think I heard that Kilty and Brophy both missed absolute sitters. It could have easily been them leading at the break, so maybe that's what kind of just ruined their chances. I'm glad to see Matt Strayek, though, immediately becoming zero hero, though. That's
good.
Definitely
We always like to see redemption stories, don't we?
That's what Martindale called it, absolute redemption. He was proper lauded him, saying his first name on the team sheet, that sort of thing. So it's brilliant to see after we gave him a bit of a slating last week. But
we kind of did, didn't we? Well, rightly so.
Rightly so, yeah. We're rightly praising them now.
Give credit when it's due and give criticism when it's due. That's what we're all about here.
Definitely.
That wraps up all the games that played out, and of course that does leave us with just 8 teams left in the competition. The quarterfinals are set, and for anyone that's not seen the draw, we have Celtic at home to Raith Rovers, Rangers at home to Livingston, Dundee United taking on Hibs at Tannadice, and Dundee against St Johnstone at Dens. What sides are jumping out to you straight away, Cam, from those 4?
Dundee United Hibs. That's got a little bit of history about it. Obviously, Hibs won Scottish Cup semi last season. There was the whole, there's not the whole Conrad Logan thing as well. I think that was his debut game back in 2016 when Hibs went on to win it. I could be wrong.
It was. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe the game Cummins done a Panenka penalty and skied it over the bar as well. I think I'm remembering that right. It's usually a good game, though. Yeah, it's usually a good game. So that's one jumping out at me because I don't see Darius and Raith Rovers having a masterclass away to the Celtic team. It'd be great.
You never know. You never know.
I was going to bring up 1994 League Cup. Sorry, Celtic listeners, but that's the last time Raith won it. It's the last time they got to this quarter-final stage. They went on to win it against Celtic at Ibrox. So, it's football. Anything can happen. But
look for the narrative every single time.
Look for the narrative. Exactly.
We'll absolutely buy into it.
That's it. I don't see Livingston or Raith doing anything against Rangers or Celtic. And Dundee St Johnstone, a Tayside derby, I suppose. I don't know what you think about that being called a derby when there's 3 teams involved, but I suppose that's also got a bit of narrative behind it. But I think the best game, probably the most exciting game, will be Dundee United Hibs.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of contention in that semi-final as well, just last year. I think second goal, a lot of people were claiming Deutsch was offside for it. If I remember correctly, it was Deutsch that scored. So it might be a wee bit of... I don't imagine there'll be much love lost between the two when they meet again at Tannadice. I do agree. Celtic Raith Rovers. It'll be a good away day for the Raith Rovers fans. I would definitely be up for that one had it been me. To be fair, I would have taken a visit from Hibs. That would have been good fun if we'd actually get through. That would have been our draw. So very good. Rangers Livy. Again, I just see that as a Rangers win. To be honest,
I do too.
I do want to see Livingston do well as often as possible. I do like them. I like David Martindale. I mean, there's no really that's not really any surprise. I mean, there's not really many people that dislike David Martindale, to be fair. And you want to see them succeed because you don't want to see the cups just automatically go back to one of the old firm. You want a bit of diversity. You want somebody else winning it. You want another team to do a historic double. You want some intrigue into it. So you would absolutely love to see one of these teams get a result past it. A phone was going there. Goodness me! Someone tried to phone me in the middle of a broadcast. That's shocking. Yeah, and then Dundee St Johnstone could be quite good. I feel like that.
I'm thinking now, by the way, if all 4 home teams win, like you could have 2 derbies in the semis, or a potential derby in the final.
You could. You could.
I'm just saying, that would be quite interesting. I would quite like to see a Dundee United, Hampden semi, and then Celtic Rangers. That'd be a great weekend of football.
I prefer to see the Dundee United Dundee final, to be honest.
Yeah,
if we're going by that, we can put that out there from the word go. And that kind of does it for us for tonight. That's just coming up to 7 o'clock. Of course, we're going to be back every weeknight at 6 o'clock to talk about all the biggest goings on in the beautiful game up in God's country, the best in the world. But you already knew that. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the comments. We love seeing you interact as much as possible. Cameron, it's been a pleasure having you join me as always. Always good to get your thoughts and opinions out on the Monday edition of the State of Scottish Football. Make sure to head over to us on Twitter, the State of Mind. Follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube. You get entered into a monthly prize draw with the network by doing so it's well worth your time. And you get to get great content like this and all the other shows that we do have going out. You've got a Celtic State of Mind, Soccer Supernova, Scream of Celica, all these shows. You're spoiled for choice. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I've been Jack Donnelly. Take care, and we'll see you soon.